Good evening, everyone. You know, when I was a little girl growing up in Berkeley, I never imagined that one day I'd be standing on global stages, speaking to people from all walks of life. I was just a small town girl with big dreams, a lot of heart, a lot of questions, and quite honestly, a lot of solitude. I've learned something over the years: being alone does not mean being lonely. In fact, some of my most transformative moments have come when I was by myself. When the noise quiets down and you're left with just your own voice, that's when your real power emerges. There were times I walked into rooms where no one looked like me, spoke like me, or even believed I belonged there, and let me tell you, it's easy to shrink in those moments. It's easy to doubt yourself, to want validation, to seek comfort. But I made a decision early on. If I was going to walk into a room, I wouldn't walk in looking for a chair, I'd bring my own. And if one didn't exist, I'd build it. Yes, we live in a world that constantly tells us that strength lies in numbers, in followers, in likes, in connections. But true power, that comes from within. It comes from knowing who you are when no one is clapping for you. When there's no camera, no spotlight, no cheering crowd, just you and your will to keep moving. Being alone taught me to trust my instincts. It taught me to love myself fiercely. It taught me that I don't need permission to chase what sets my soul on fire. It taught me that I am enough just as I am. And so are you, to every person here who has felt like they didn't belong. To anyone who has sat alone at the lunch table, started over in a new city, pursued a dream that no one else understood, I see you. And I want you to know, you are not weak because you are alone. You are powerful because you dare to stand by yourself. Don't wait for someone to hand you the mic. Pick it up. Don't wait for someone to write your story. Start writing it now. Don't wait to be chosen. Choose yourself, because alone doesn't mean invisible. Alone doesn't mean incapable. Alone, when embraced, becomes unstoppable. So stand tall, walk proud. Be alone if you must, but always remember, you are powerful beyond measure. We often equate being alone with being lonely, but the two are profoundly different experiences. Loneliness is a sense of isolation that comes from craving connection and not having it. But being alone, truly, intentionally alone, can be a place of power, not weakness. It's in those moments when the world quiets down and the distractions fall away that we begin to hear our own voice clearly. That voice, unfiltered by expectations, comparisons, or judgments, is the most honest version of who we are. Many people fear solitude because they assume it means lack of love, attention, or purpose. But some of the most incredible journeys of transformation begin in solitude. It is in stillness that we discover resilience we didn't know we had. It is in quiet that we learn what truly matters to us, not what our friends think, not what social media says, not what the world expects, but what we actually believe in our bones. Being alone can teach you to be comfortable with yourself, which is one of the most underrated kinds of confidence. It forces you to sit with your fears, your dreams, your discomforts, and your hopes without anyone else's voice guiding the conversation. That can feel uncomfortable at first, even scary, but over time it becomes liberating. You start to realize you don't need a crowd to validate your worth. You don't need applause to confirm your direction. You become your own guide, your own motivator, your own source of peace. People who learn to thrive in solitude often emerge with a deeper sense of purpose. They're not easily swayed by others because they've taken the time to build clarity within themselves. And clarity is powerful. It brings direction, it brings strength, and it brings a quiet kind of confidence that doesn't shout, but doesn't shake either. Of course, human connection is important. We all need people. But it's far more powerful to choose connection from a place of wholeness than from a place of need. When you're able to stand alone, love yourself, and enjoy your own company, every other relationship in your life becomes a choice, not a crutch. Being alone is not something to be ashamed of or afraid of. It is a space of becoming, a place where power begins, because once you learn to be with yourself, no one can take that peace away from you. That's not loneliness, that's strength. True power doesn't come from applause, titles, or the number of people who agree with you. It doesn't live in the spotlight or thrive on validation from others. Real, lasting power comes from within, from the quiet but unshakable belief that you are enough, just as you are. In a world that constantly tells us to measure our worth by likes, followers, or approval, It's easy to forget that our greatest strength lies in our ability to believe in ourselves when no one else does. There are moments in life when no one is watching, no one is cheering, and no one is offering reassurance. These moments, though uncomfortable, are where your inner power is forged. When you decide to keep going without recognition, when you show up for yourself despite the absence of external praise, that's when you begin to understand who you really are. Confidence built on outside approval is fragile. It crumbles when opinions shift, but confidence rooted in self-awareness, in self-trust, is resilient. It stands firm even in storms. It's easy to feel powerful when things are going well and people are supporting you. But the real test is what you do when you feel unseen or unheard. That's when your inner voice matters most. Do you still believe in your vision? Do you still back your decisions? Do you still know your value? If the answer is yes, then you are powerful not because someone else told you so, but because you told yourself. We live in a world that encourages performance, showing your best side, editing your flaws, curating your identity for public consumption. But there is a deeper power in authenticity, in not needing to perform, in being able to say, "This is who I am," with conviction and grace. When your sense of worth is self-sourced, you're no longer at the mercy of trends or opinions. You walk into rooms differently, you speak with clarity, you lead with courage, and that kind of power can't be taken from you. Everyone wants to be seen and celebrated, that's human. But don't make the mistake of thinking that recognition equals worth. You are worthy long before anyone notices. You are valuable long before anyone validates you. The applause is nice, but it's not the foundation. Build your foundation on knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and respecting yourself. Because when the spotlight fades and the audience leaves, all that remains is you. And if you know that you are enough, that's where true power begins. So often we wait. We wait for the right time, the right opportunity, the right person to say, "Yes, you can." But the truth is, no one needs to give you permission to chase what sets your soul on fire. The world doesn't owe you an invitation to step into your purpose. You must choose yourself, again and again. That's where the magic begins. There is a quiet myth that's been passed around that someone else needs to see your potential before you can act on it. That someone in power must validate your dreams before you dare to believe in them. But the most powerful people in the world didn't wait to be discovered. They decided to show up without the applause, without the stage, sometimes without a plan, and trust that their commitment to their vision would light the way forward. When you stop waiting and start acting, something remarkable happens. You begin to step into ownership of your life. You're no longer seeking approval to exist boldly. You're no longer editing your dreams to make others comfortable. You're no longer trying to fit into the spaces others created. You're creating your own. Choosing yourself isn't about arrogance, it's about self-respect. It's about saying, "I know I may not have all the answers, and I may not have it all figured out yet, but I have something inside me worth pursuing." That belief alone is fuel. It pushes you through doubt. It drives you past obstacles. It keeps you moving even when the path is unclear. The hard truth is, if you wait for someone to hand you your dream, you might be waiting forever. But when you take initiative, when you create, speak, build, learn, fail, and rise again, you build a kind of momentum that no one can take from you. That's what it means to be powerful, to stop asking for the green light and start walking, even if it's one brave step at a time. People might question your choices. They might not understand your vision. That's okay. They're not supposed to. It's not their vision to carry. It's yours, and that alone makes it valid. So don't wait to be chosen. Don't wait to be called. You are the call. You are the answer. You are the permission. When you finally realize that no one else needs to believe in your dream but you, that's when you truly start to live it. Learning to be alone teaches you things no crowd ever could. When the noise of the world fades and it's just you, no one to impress, no one to lean on, no one to distract you, you begin to uncover the raw truth of who you are. It's in these quiet moments that you find the strength that's been waiting beneath the surface all along. Solitude strips away the external and demands that you become your own support system. It isn't always easy, but it's one of the most powerful transformations a person can experience. When you're alone, there's no one to pick up the pieces for you. You become your own rescuer. You learn how to face your fears without a safety net. You figure out how to comfort yourself when life feels too heavy. You teach yourself how to get up when no one is cheering you on. And that's not weakness, that's resilience in its purest form. That's you stepping into the role of your own hero. In those moments, you stop looking outward for answers and begin searching inward. You ask yourself tough questions. Who am I without validation? What do I really want when no one's watching? What am I willing to fight for when I'm the only one in my corner? These questions don't have easy answers, but they lead you to a place of profound self-awareness. And once you know who you are at your core, no one can shake that foundation. Aloneness is also a mirror. It reflects back everything you may have ignored, your insecurities, your regrets, your untapped dreams. But facing those things instead of running from them builds character. It's how you grow. It's how you become whole. You don't have to have it all together, but you do have to be willing to stand in your own presence and say, I'm still here. I'm still trying, and I've got me. When you rely on others to carry your strength, you're always vulnerable to their absence. But when you learn to carry your own, you become unshakable. People can come and go, circumstances can change, but the power you've built in solitude stays with you. It becomes your armor, your compass, your anchor. The truth is, self-reliance is not about closing yourself off from others. It's about building a foundation so solid that even if you stand alone, you know you'll still stand strong. That's the kind of power no one can give you and no one can take away. There will be times in life when you walk into a room and realize no one has saved a seat for you. No space was made with you in mind. No one thought you belonged. In those moments you have a choice. Shrink into the background or create your own opportunity. Some of the most powerful people you admire didn't wait for the door to open. They built one themselves from scratch, using every ounce of courage, creativity, and self-belief they had. Because they knew something vital. If the world won't make room for you, you make room for yourself. Waiting for the perfect conditions, the perfect invitation, or the perfect setup only delays your potential. The people who change the game aren't the ones who waited to be chosen. They are the ones who showed up uninvited and proved why they mattered. They created their own table and then had the audacity to sit at it alone until others noticed. That's what leadership looks like. That's what power feels like. You don't need to fit into a mold that was never built for you. In fact, most of the systems in place weren't built with everyone in mind. So instead of contorting yourself to fit into a space that doesn't serve you, try building your own lane. Try imagining a reality where your voice, your perspective, and your presence are not only valid, but essential. That's not wishful thinking, that's how innovation is born. Building your own path means taking risks. It means hearing no and trying again. It means failing publicly and rising anyway. But every time you step forward, you reinforce a message to yourself and the world that you are capable, determined, and here to stay. You stop relying on gatekeepers, and you start becoming your own source of access. When you stop asking for permission and start creating your own opportunities, you become unstoppable. You don't just change your own life, you create a blueprint for others who felt unseen or underestimated. You show them that they don't have to wait to be included, they can lead, they can innovate, they can redefine the space entirely. So if there's no seat at the table, bring your own. And if that table won't have you, build your own space where you and others like you belong. That's not rebellion, that's evolution. And it starts the moment you stop waiting and start creating. Choosing yourself is one of the boldest and most liberating decisions you can make. It means recognizing your own value without needing anyone else to confirm it. It's the quiet, unwavering voice inside you that says, I am worthy, I am enough, I believe in me. In a world that constantly pressures us to seek approval, whether it's through relationships, social media, or professional validation, choosing yourself is an act of defiance and deep self-respect. It's not about shutting people out, it's about no longer putting yourself, worth in someone else's hands. When you choose yourself, you stop chasing people who don't see you. You stop begging for opportunities that aren't aligned with your purpose. You stop watering down your dreams to make them more acceptable or easier for others to understand. Instead, you stand in your truth, fully and unapologetically. That kind of clarity makes you magnetic. People may not always agree with you or understand your choices, but they will feel your authenticity. And authenticity is powerful. There is freedom in knowing that you don't need to be chosen to be valuable. There's peace in realizing that your worth isn't up for debate. You are not a backup plan or a second choice. You are the main character in your own life, and the story begins the moment you stop waiting for someone else to write it. You pick up the pen, you decide the plot, you choose the direction, the pace, the ending. This mindset shifts everything. You begin to approach life with intention instead of desperation. You're no longer driven by fear of being left out or left behind. You move with purpose, grounded in the belief that what's meant for you will find you, not because someone gave it to you, but because you made space for it by refusing to settle. Choosing yourself is also an act of responsibility. It means showing up for yourself every day, especially when it's hard. It means prioritizing your needs, setting boundaries, and honoring your potential, even when no one is watching. It's not always easy, but it builds an unshakable kind of confidence, one that doesn't need constant affirmation to survive. When you choose yourself, consistently and courageously, you begin to attract people, opportunities, and energy that reflect your worth. You stop chasing validation and start living in alignment. You stop proving and start becoming, and in that space you realize that you were never waiting to be chosen, because you were the one you needed all along. Thanks.